I wanted to discuss with you all the average salary for a licensed specialist in school psychology, also known as a school psychologist. I know that in the field of mental health and human services, people often discuss, well, I'm not in it for the money. You should never get into it for the money. But honestly, if you're going to be in this field, you want to get paid well enough to where you can sustain a living, not necessarily get rich, but sustain a comfortable living. Now, licensed specialists in school psychology or school psychologists, they do get paid pretty well. Now, the requirements of becoming an LSSP, you only have to have a master's degree. Now, the pay is typically really pretty good, honestly. The national average of school psychologists it's about $75,000. That's the national average for school psychologists, and that's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's about $75,000. Now, $75,000 for only having a master's degree is really pretty good. Now you can either get your master's, your specialist, or your doctorate, and perhaps if you have your doctorate degree, you can probably get a little bit more. But that is the national average. Now I wanted to discuss it kind of in three of the biggest states. Obviously, it matters where you're going to be living at, whether or not you're going to be making more or making a little bit less. The national average for Texas is about $65,000. The national average for California is about $90,000, and the average for New York is $75,000. Now, I've also seen for New York it was about $85,000, but I guess it also depends on where in New York you are, and for the other states too. But as I said, Texas has about a $10,000. Is $10,000 below. California is about $15,000-$20,000 higher, and New York is around the average, the national average for school psychologists. Now, again, there are 47 other states, so it's going to depend on which states you're living in. But I kind of wanted to give you guys an idea about the three largest states. But no matter where you go, you're typically going to earn pretty well as a school psychologist. I've seen starting salaries kind of around $50,000, $45,000. Another thing to consider is it's gonna depend on whether or not you're working for a school district or just a school itself, because school psychologists are hired for from school districts and from schools just themselves, elementary schools, junior highs, high schools. Sometimes as a school psychologist, you're going to be working at various schools. One day you may be at elementary school, and the next day you may be at a high school, and then the next day you may be at a middle school or a junior high school. So it all is going to depend on that. School psychologists also work at correctional facilities for juveniles, so you may also work in that setting as well, and so it's also going to depend on kind of where you are. But as I said before, the national average is about $75,000, and that is a really good salary for having a master's degree. And typically, counseling fields in human services fields don't typically pay a lot. I think like the average for licensed professional counselors, marriage and family therapists, and licensed clinical social workers is probably about $55,000 average. And it may be going up a little bit, and that's also going to depend on where you are in the country. But for school psychologists, they do earn pretty well. And you keep in mind that you're going to have your summers off, if not the whole summer, but you're going to have at least a partial summer off, and you're still going to be getting paid. You're still going to, while you're jet setting around the world, you can still be getting paid. You're still going to be, because you're a salaried employee. So that's also something to keep in mind if you're considering entering into the counseling field, into the counseling arena. Now, sometimes as a school psychologist, you're not going to be doing as much as the counseling as you probably want to do, because you're going to be doing a lot of consultations. You're going to be putting together a lot of behavioral intervention plans and so on and so forth. So keep that in mind as well. But on average, you're going to be doing really well for yourself as a school psychologist. So I just wanted to discuss that with you guys and get you more interested in the field of school psychology. If you have any questions, please let me know.